This young man ended up murdering 10 people at a supermarket after plotting the attack for months. This 18-year-old killed 21 people while shooting in a school, including 19 children and 2 teachers. This young sophomore opened fire at his school, killing 4 students and also injuring several others, while this young man horrifically murdered 3 students during the shooting. And this young boy ended up committing a massacre at a school in Florida. All of these are mass shooters who were served justice for their horrific actions. With that, let's get to our first case. Peyton Gendron is known for a horrific racially motivated mass shooting at a supermarket in Buffalo, New York on May 14, 2022. This attack specifically targeted Black individuals, resulting in the deaths of 10 people and injuring 3 others. Gendron, who was just 18 years old at the time, drove more than 200 miles from his home to carry out this deadly assault.
I seen the guy go in, army style, bent over, just shooting at people, and I heard him shooting at people, and then I saw 3 people laying down.
On the day of the shooting, Gendron arrived at the Tops Friendly Market in Buffalo, a store located in a predominantly Black neighborhood. He was heavily armed with a semi-automatic rifle and wore tactical gear, including a helmet and body armor. Shockingly, he live-streamed the attack on the social media platform Twitch. The shooting lasted several minutes, during which Gendron killed 10 people and wounded 3 others, most of whom were Black. He was apprehended by police at the scene without resistance.
Got out of this vehicle and very methodically began to shoot people in this parking lot.
Admitting to killing 10 innocent people at a Tops supermarket last May. Gendron even live streaming part of it, motivated by hate and white supremacy.
Before the attack, Gendron posted a manifesto online that outlined his racist beliefs and motivations. He detailed his intention to target Black people and cited the Great Replacement theory as a significant influence. He also expressed admiration for previous mass shooters who had committed similar racially motivated attacks. After his arrest, Gendron faced multiple charges, including first-degree murder and hate crimes. In November 2022, he pleaded guilty to state charges of murder and domestic terrorism motivated by hate. By February 2023, he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He also faced federal charges, including hate crimes and firearm offenses, which could carry the death penalty. During the sentencing, one of the relatives of a victim tried to attack Gendron, but was stopped and restrained by authorities.
We never go in no neighborhoods and take people out.
Gendron also apologized in his statement that he gave during the sentencing for his horrific actions and hate towards the Black community. Salvador Ramos is the perpetrator of the mass shooting at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, on May 24, 2022. This tragic event resulted in the deaths of 21 people, including 19 children and 2 teachers, making it one of the deadliest school shootings in U.S. history.
Authorities say he got in through a back door, slipping into a classroom and opening fire on 4th graders and their 2 teachers.
Salvador Ramos was an 18-year-old resident of Uvalde, Texas. He had a troubled background, characterized by social isolation, bullying, and behavioral issues. Ramos had reportedly dropped out of high school and worked at a local fast food restaurant. Prior to the shooting, there were warning signs regarding his behavior, including disturbing social media posts and texts about violence.
He, prior, and I don't see this covered, and I'm gonna put this out there, he would hurt animals. He was not a good person. He would go to the parks and try to pick fights.
On the morning of May 24, 2022, Ramos shot his grandmother at their home, seriously wounding her. Despite her injuries, she managed to contact the police. Ramos then took her vehicle and drove to Robb Elementary School. He crashed the vehicle into a ditch near the school and approached the campus armed with an AR-15 style rifle and wearing body armor.
That happened was that the gunman shot his grandmother in the face. She then contacted police. As he was fleeing, he had an accident just outside of the elementary school, and he ran into the school.
Ramos entered the school around 11:30 a.m. through an unlocked door and began his attack. He first encountered and shot several school staff members before moving into a fourth-grade classroom. Once inside, he barricaded himself and opened fire on the students and teachers. The attack lasted for over an hour.
We need to respond to South Grove and Mill Street to establish a perimeter.
The gunroom entered into that classroom, and the classroom was connected internally to another classroom.
The response from law enforcement was heavily criticized. Initially, local police officers attempted to engage Ramos, but were met with heavy gunfire. Additional law enforcement agencies, including Border Patrol, eventually arrived at the scene. However, there was significant delay and confusion about how to respond to the active shooter situation. It took over an hour before a specialized border control tactical unit breached the classroom and fatally shot Ramos. The shooting claimed the lives of 19 children and 2 teachers, all of whom were in the same classroom. The victims ranged in age from 9 to 11 years old. The tragedy left Uvalde community and the entire nation in mourning. On November 30th, 2021, the peaceful community of Oxford, Michigan was devastated by an unimaginable tragedy. Ethan Crumbley, a 15-year-old sophomore, opened fire at Oxford High School, killing 4 students and injuring 7 others, including a teacher. This heartbreaking event became one of the deadliest school shootings in recent American history, leaving the nation overwhelmed with grief and searching for answers. Crumbley had shown concerning behavior before the shooting. On the morning of the attack, school officials met with Crumbley and his parents to discuss his troubling conduct, which included a disturbing drawing depicting violence. Despite these warning signs, Crumbley was permitted to go back to class. It was there that he carried out the attack using a handgun his parents had bought for him just days ago. Following the incident, Crumbley faced adult charges that included first-degree murder and terrorism causing death. His parents, James and Jennifer Crumbley, were charged with involuntary manslaughter. This rare legal action underscored their alleged negligence in securing the firearm and addressing their son's behavior.
As to Defendant James Crumbley, it is the sentence of this court that you serve 10 to 15 years with the Michigan Department of Corrections, that you receive credit for 858 days, that you pay state costs in the matter of $272, that there is a crime victims' rights fee of $130, that you or your agents have no contact with the families of Madison Baldwin, Tate Meir, Hannah St. Juliana, and Justin Schilling. Ms. Wheeler, have I left anything out with regard to sentencing? No restitution has been requested by any of the families at this time, correct?
That's correct.
As the trial progressed, tensions escalated when family members of one of the victims were given the opportunity to address the court. Their voices trembled with a mix of sorrow and anger as they described the impact of Ethan's alleged actions on their lives. Each word seemed to echo through the hushed room, conveying the depth of their loss and the pain they carried. In a heart-wrenching scene, a mother confronted Ethan, telling him, "I'll never forgive you for what happened to my daughter." Her voice shook with pain as she described how her daughter's bright future was cut short. She looked at Ethan, hoping to see some remorse, but he remained expressionless, adding to the sadness in the courtroom. During the trial, Ethan seemed emotionally distant, which was in sharp contrast to the deep sadness shown by those affected by the tragedy. His statement, "I'm a very bad person," showed he understood his actions had serious consequences. This statement made people in the courtroom think about his feelings and responsibility. He was sentenced to life in prison in 2021. TJ Lane is known for his involvement in the Chardon High School shooting, which occurred on February 27, 2012, in Chardon, Ohio. Lane, then 17 years old, opened fire in the school's cafeteria, resulting in the deaths of 3 students and the wounding of 3 others. This tragic event brought significant attention to issues of school safety and gun violence in the United States.
After he opened fire in the Chardon High School cafeteria in northeastern Ohio, Lane killed 3 students.
Lane used a .22 caliber handgun in the attack. He fired 10 shots, killing 3 students: Daniel Parmator, Russell King Jr., and Demetrius Hewlin, and injuring 3 others. The shooting lasted less than a minute. Lane was apprehended by police officers a short distance from the school. He did not resist arrest.
Dead silent the entire time. Didn't say anything before.
In 2013, Lane was tried as an adult despite being a minor at the time of the crime. He pleaded guilty to the charges of aggravated murder, attempted aggravated murder, and felonious assault. During his sentencing, Lane showed no remorse, smirking and wearing a t-shirt with the word "killer" written on it. He was sentenced to 3 life sentences without the possibility of parole. In September 2014, Lane, along with 2 other inmates, escaped from the Allen Oakwood Correctional Institution. They were captured a few hours later without incident. This escape raised questions about prison security. Lane's motives for the shooting were not entirely clear. Some reports suggested he was a troubled teenager with a history of mental health issues, but no definitive reason for the attack was ever established.
He did scale our perimeter fence, and again, this is an ongoing investigation.
Nicholas Cruz is known for carrying out the mass shooting of Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, on February 14, 2018. This tragic event resulted in the deaths of 17 people and injuries to 17 others, making it one of the deadliest school shootings in U.S. history.
Oh my God!
Cruz, who was 19 years old at the time, was a former student of the high school. He was expelled for disciplinary reasons prior to the shooting. Armed with an AR-15 style semi-automatic rifle, Cruz entered the school and began his attack, which lasted for approximately 6 minutes. He then attempted to blend in with fleeing students to escape the scene, but was apprehended by police about an hour later.
Protect our children in schools, then who can we protect?
Building, because that door was unlocked and unstaffed, and that we say that that is a security.
The investigation revealed that Cruz had a history of behavioral problems and mental health issues. He had exhibited disturbing behavior and had made threats in the past, leading to numerous warnings to authorities, which were not adequately acted upon. This led to significant criticism of law enforcement and the FBI for failing to follow up on tips that could have potentially prevented the shooting. Cruz was charged with 17 counts of first-degree murder and 17 counts of attempted first-degree murder. In October 2021, Cruz pleaded guilty to all charges. His trial for the sentencing phase began in July 2022. On November 2, 2022, he was formally sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, after the jury recommended a life sentence rather than the death penalty.
Count 1 of the indictment, the murder in the first degree of Luke Hoyer. The court imposes a sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole. Count 2 of the indictment, the murder in the first degree of Martin Duque Anquiano. The court imposes a mandatory life sentence without the possibility of parole. Count 3 of the indictment, the murder in the first degree of Gina Montalto. The court imposes a mandatory life sentence without the possibility of parole. Count 4 of the indictment, the murder in the first degree of Alexander Schachter. The court imposes a mandatory life sentence without the possibility of parole.
With that, we wrap up today's video. Like and subscribe for more amazing content, and leave your suggestions down below. Thanks for watching.